Back to Beyond the Routine with Spence on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Emma Spence.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Routine with Spence. I am your host, Emma Spence. First, I would just want to say Happy International Student Day. I just found this out after practice today, but today is International Student Day. Obviously, I'm an international student, so I just wanted to share that. So once again, I'm going solo. My problem is that I forget to ask people in advance or like far enough in advance. Like I have all these people that I want to have on here, and then the week gets busy and I forget to ask them in advance. So I'm gonna do a better job at doing that. So yeah, I'm gonna try this by myself again. So last week I talked a lot about how like it just felt like I don't know. It's the point of season, point of the year where everything just feels like slow, and repetitive. And last week was a very busy week for me. I had a lot of big projects and exams and presentations and just a bunch of random things that just all happened to fall in the same week. But now that I got through that week, I'm feeling pretty good. Sometimes it's just like I don't know, at least I tell myself it's like you just got to get through the week, get through this day and then it'll be good. And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. Let's see. So, gym actually, this is a fun thing to share. So on Thursday, our coaches kind of did a little surprise for us. We did warm up and everything. We trained for like an hour, and then Heather, our head coach, calls us up in lineup and was like, "Okay, guys, like you've been putting in a lot of hard work over the last couple weeks. We've noticed it. Like we're really proud of you, all that." And she's like, "So because of this, we actually hired someone to come, like in the gym. They're in like the like I don't know lobby area, and we're going to be making flower bouquets together for the rest of practice." So that was an amazing surprise. Shout out to Heather. That really brightened up our spirits. We were very excited. So we only practiced for like an hour on Thursday, and then we spent the rest of practice making flower bouquets, which was really cool. They were really pretty. They brought in I can't remember the flower shop is the one right near the mall. It's like right beside the mall in like that Qdoba area. And they did a really good job. The person there that was showing us how to do it did a really good job explaining it. There were so many things and parts that go into making flowers that I didn't even know. Like he gave us like the rose and we had to like spin it and like open it up and open up all the petals, which I didn't even know that was like a thing that florists do, but it was really cool. It was a really good experience, a little mental health chill day that we got to do on Thursday. They don't do that very often, but usually, kind of like I said, everyone's feeling it around this time of the year. So them letting us do that was kind of needed, but very appreciated. Because then on Friday we had a really intense training day. We did like a little practice competition. Um, like I said, we have our inner squad coming up this Friday night. So we had like a little practice inner squad on Friday last week, and we went around doing our show routines on each event just to kind of get us in the right headspace and mentally prepare for this week because we're going to have judges there. I kind of touched on it last week, but we have judges coming in and we literally do a practice competition in Devaney, like I guess not Devaney, like not the arena, but our training gym, which is also in Devaney. So that is going to be very cool. We are split up into two teams, Scarlet and Cream. I am on the Cream team. And yeah, it's going to be fun. There should be a post coming out on Thursday about how to tune in, show up and watch if you want to be doing that. So keep an eye out for that for more details coming about that if you are interested in tuning in on our little inner squad. So yeah, I don't know. I called a couple of people this morning asking if they want to do it, but no one was available. So I was texting my grandma actually because she reached out and she told me that she watched my last show and we were just talking about it a little bit. And then this morning she said, "So who are we going to have on tonight?" I was like, "Actually, well, at first I thought I knew who, but I ended up being like, actually, I'm just going to do it by myself again." And she gave me a couple ideas on things to talk about on my show tonight because I needed a little bit of inspiration. She suggested sharing some of my story, like overcoming adversity, some of the adversity that I've gone through, and kind of how it shaped me into who I am and just like, yeah, made me the person that I am, the good and the bad things that I've gone through. And I think that's a really good idea. So thanks, Grandma. Um, I'm gonna do that. Like I also mentioned on my last show, I just think there's so much power in storytelling and being real and honest and vulnerable about the things that you're experiencing. So I'm going to use this platform, this opportunity to kind of dive into that a little bit. Yeah. So I don't know. I'll start with like I've gone through my gymnastics kind of journey and how I got into it on plenty different shows here. Basically, I started gymnastics when I was 7 years old. I did it with my sisters. I have two younger sisters, Abby and Libby, and it was like a family thing we all did for a very long time. But we all got really serious into it pretty quick. Like we were all competing. By the time I was probably 8. They were all Lib competed really young. They were all probably like 7 when we all started competing, which is, it's pretty average, but for a gymnast. But around that time, we ended up training like a lot. Gymnastics is a sport that requires you to train a lot because there's just so many parts of it. We train 4 events. The women's side trains 4 events, men's side trains 6. Sometimes people get confused. They're like, "Do you do the rings?" I'm like, "No, no, no, I don't do the rings. That's a men's event." So women's events are vault, bars, beam, and floor. And you don't usually have time to practice all of them every day, so you kind of split them up throughout the week, but that means that you have to train a lot. And by the time you're like 7, 8 years old, you're training at least 20 hours a week. And it's hard to find time in your schedule to train like 20 hours a week. So typically what the clubs do is you end up training in the afternoons. So from probably 8 years old, I started missing classes in like yeah, elementary school, which is crazy. So it'd be like I go to class until probably like lunchtime, and usually I leave around lunchtime and go to practice, train for like 4 hours, 3, 4 hours. Started off by doing that probably just like once a week, and then it went to 2 times a week. And then the older I got and the higher level I guess I got, it ended up being every day. By the time I got to high school, I would practice or go to school in the morning, do like 1 or 2 classes, and then at lunch, I would leave and I'd go practice like 4 or 5 hours every afternoon, and then I was training about 30 hours a week by the time I was in high school, which is a lot of my time doing gymnastics, and then having my sisters all go through the same thing, all of us in the gym all the time was definitely a lot, but I don't know, I'd say it definitely brought us closer together because it's a hard experience. It's a good experience, but it's also very challenging because, you don't have many people that you can really connect about that with. Like, you can say I do like, yeah, I do gymnastics, but, like, you say that to someone in, like, elementary school, they're like, "Oh, like, that's cool, I can do gymnastics too." It's like, yeah, like, we could like, yeah, but there's, like, a difference between, like, doing gymnastics and, like, doing cartwheels. So, the amount of training that goes into it is crazy. Like, we do our whole warm-ups. Warm-up usually takes about an hour. There's, like, the endurance warm-up, like, all the running and cardio stuff, and then there's the strength part. So there's conditioning. Um, a lot of gymnastics conditioning, especially at a young age, is very body weight based. So there's, like, rope climbs, pull-ups, leg lifts, like, all that kinda stuff because you need to learn how to, like, use your body and all that kinda stuff, and you really need to learn that at a young age because that kinda stays with you throughout the rest of your career. Once I got to probably national team, when I was probably, like, 14, that's when I started, like, strength lifting. We had our national team coach prepare, like, a lifting program for us to do on top of that as well, and stretching. Stretching is a big component in gymnastics because of all the leaps and everything we do, and the way that you, like, move your body and all that kinda stuff, you need to, prepare your body for that. So, that's kinda how the beginning practice goes, and then you go through your events. And, yeah, usually, I don't know, bars is probably the longest. Bars, there's just a lot of stuff that you do with it. Um, so you go like, I don't know. So if the practice is like 4 or 5 hours, usually do like an hour or so warm up conditioning, and then you go through the events and usually do 3, I'd say 2 to 3, about an hour ish on each, depending. Sometimes some take longer, like bars takes the longest because there's just bars is just a lot, and bars is probably the most unique event. I don't know, there's not really any of them others like that. Beam, like beam's not too crazy because you can do beam on the floor, and then if you can do your beam skills on the floor, you just have to figure out, like, how to do it when it's raised, like we have lines on the floor. And if you can like nail your series and your skills all on the floor, like you just got to mentally get over the fact that it's like a lot higher and skinnier, but like you can do it on the floor. And like floor, it's floor. And then vault isn't like, I don't know, it's a leg event, but bars is very unique in the sense that everything like you're holding on with your arms, like you're only using your arms the whole time. Not to say you're using other muscles because, I mean, you're squeezing every other muscle in your body and staying tight so that you get the shapes that you want in the air and you're able to get the right swing. I don't know, get the right skills done. You have to really engage everything, but bars definitely takes the longest, especially when you're young, to figure out how to make your body work in the way that it needs to. So yeah, that's how gymnastics works. I didn't think I was gonna explain that, but I guess I did. Uh, so yeah, basically, a lot of gymnastics growing up, and a lot of gymnastics in my family growing up because my sisters and I were all going through that. Big shout out to my mom because having to drive us and figure out all of our schedules must have been insane, especially once we started practicing in the afternoons. Like she didn't get a lunch break because she had to bring us to practice like literally every day. So really, really thankful for her because I'm sure that was probably really difficult. Um, because yeah, just literally our family's lives revolved around gymnastics for such a long time. And honestly, I wouldn't trade that because it has taught us a lot. I mean, you learn a lot through the sport, mentally, physically. You just learn how your body works and how it moves and how to take care of yourself and how to eat properly and fuel yourself properly and all of these things. And it brought my sisters and I a lot closer together too because we all had something like a common thing we could all relate to each other on, which was also really nice. But definitely took up a lot. Like we used to do like family activities and go on all these things. Like both my parents are from New Liskard, which is 6 hours north of where we ended up growing up. They ended up moving south once they finished school, like my parents did. But we would go up north all the time when we were younger before doing gymnastics. But by the time we started doing gym and we were like really locked into it, we didn't have time for family vacations and we didn't get to do all these little things on the side that we used to do growing up. So it was just a lot of sacrifices that our family had to go through and do for us to be able to achieve the things that we have. And I don't know, I've had some conversations with my sisters. Maybe I'll try and get them on here again sometime soon and we can dive into it a little bit more. But yeah, it was something. Like, I don't know. I never saw that coming when I started gym, and I don't think they did either because it was just something that we did for fun and just something that we did because we wanted to do it. And then it just got really serious and it literally became our lives. But I wouldn't trade it. I don't think they would have either. They were good. My sisters were so good at gymnastics, like naturally so talented, so amazing. Abby was on the national team for about a year or two for double mini and trampoline, which is gymnastics, but like a different part of gymnastics. It's not artistic gymnastics. So it's like tumbling and like trampoline. And Libby did that too. And she was like national champion at 11 years old, which is so impressive. So that's kind of what got us into sports or into the gymnastics sport, I guess. We all did sports at a younger age too. Before that, like we were doing soccer and swimming lessons and dance and all the kind of stuff that kids usually go through. But yeah, that's kind of how that went. Um, I keep going in circles. So going back to how like that went in high school for me, it was like I'd wake up in the morning, I would go to classes, go to practice in the afternoon, and because I was missing these classes in the afternoon, I had to do online classes because I just literally wasn't there. Like I missed every afternoon of school to go to gymnastics when I was in high school, and like I wanted to graduate on time. I actually ended up graduating early, which is really crazy. I can get into that later. Well, no, I'll just say now. So basically, because of COVID happening, I was supposed to be traveling a lot during COVID for international meets to try and qualify to the Olympics. But once COVID happened, everything got shut down. But I was still doing online school. All of our school got switched to online. So I ended up just doing a full course load, which I wasn't originally planning on it. Like I got ahead enough to not have to do a full course load so that I could focus on qualifying to the Olympics. But since everything got shut down, I was able to do my full course load get all that school done that I needed to, and I actually graduated a semester early because of it. But it was definitely challenging. My high school experience was weird because I I didn't really get to go to, like, all of the dances and the activities or partying with my friends because I was just so locked in on gym, and that is what I needed to do at the time because that's what you do, but it's weird because it wasn't a high school sport, so no one else at my school was going through it. No one else understood why I was doing it. It's not like, I don't know, football in America, like, you have your team that you train with at school because it's your high school team. So, like, your buddies, you're all going through the same thing, but I was the only person in my whole high school trying to qualify for the Olympics and doing this thing that not like, no one else really does. My school was also pretty small. I went to French Catholic high school, and we didn't really have any big sports. High school sports aren't even, like, that big of a thing in Canada either, but especially, like, my school wasn't like we didn't have a football team or anything, so what I was doing seemed kinda crazy to some of my friends, I think, and, um, and then because I was missing so much school, like, I was so out of the loop with some of the things going on, which is fine. Like, I had to kinda choose, like, the path that I wanted to go down, and there were things like that that I missed out on that were definitely challenging to, like, accept, but at the same time, I would go to travel across the world competing for my country, and I'd be like, "Okay, well, I might not have been able to go to the school dance, but, like, at least I'm out here in, like, Japan competing for Canada, no one else, like, has that experience," and in my eyes, I saw that kinda made it worth it for me. It was definitely I had to make some choices. I had to decide if that's what I wanted to do, and I had to really commit to it because you can't just go half in and expect to make the national team and all of these things. So, yeah, I mean, like my middle sister quit gymnastics when she was still in high school, so she had a complete different experience than I did, and I was kind of jealous hearing about like, oh, I'm going to party, and I was like, oh, cool. I have to eat healthy and go to bed early. But um, by the time I started competing internationally and made like all of these really, like, cool achievements and experiences and traveling, I was just like, "Okay, I know that I made the right decision for me, and this is the path that I did wanna go down," and even though there were times that I just wanted to give up and cave in and do these things that regular teenagers get to do, sacrificing those things made it worth it for me, and in the end, I don't regret it. Another thing that I had to do was I was taking classes, like, a grade ahead at some point because they were the only ones that fit in my schedule. So because of that, I was, like, some classes were with my friends, some classes were with, like, a whole grade ahead, and I was just, like, the only person that's a grade lower, like, in those classes, and that was also really random, but, the teachers were really accommodating, like, the students were also really accommodating and understanding of my situation, but, yeah, my high school experience is weird, to say the least, but it's all good. Um so that is the end of the first segment. Where we're going to take a break and we'll be back. You are listening to Beyond the Routine with Emma Spence.
The electrical workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today. The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations, now 5 Lincoln locations. That's 25% more locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? That feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside the 93.7 The Ticket Studios on O Street. Attention students and anyone else looking for a great deal. Sun Valley Lanes and Games has the ultimate weeknight special. For just $15.95, enjoy unlimited bowling, lucky putt mini golf, and laser tag. Flash your college ID at check-in to receive $2 off your admission. It's the perfect way to unwind Sunday through Thursday nights. Check out sunvalleylanes.com for hours and availability. Sun Valley Lanes and Games, located at 321 Victory Lane.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete. Sun Valley.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
The Link Grill, Draft, and Crafts is your spot in Southeast Lincoln for great food and drink. They're serving new menu items and a killer craft cocktail menu with your favorite draft beers. You'll love their pizza and new entree options. It's a great place to watch any live events, and they have music bingo every month. They have an aggressive loyalty program that rewards fans with 7% back on all purchases. Home of the Nebraska Power Hour every night from 8 to 9 p.m. Order online at thelnkgrill.com or stop in at 84th and Highway 2 today.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Empower a child today with a Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
The electrical workers of local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeyman electricians from $32.50 to $42.50 per hour with paid benefits. And if you're looking for a new career, they're hiring apprentices at $19.50 per hour with paid benefits. Call the office at 402-423-4497 to apply. Start your electrical career today. The Mill Coffee and Tea, formerly with only 4 Lincoln locations, now 5 Lincoln locations. That's 25% more locations than there used to be. Can you even imagine a world where there's only 4 Lincoln Mill locations? That feels like ages ago. We were all so young then. The Mill on 11th, located right alongside the 93.7 The Ticket Studios on O Street.
Back to Beyond the Routine with Spence on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Emma Spence.
Welcome back to Beyond the Routine with Spence. I'm your host, Emma Spence. So I was just talking about, some of my experience growing up in the gymnastics world, and I kept referencing that I was traveling around the world competing for gymnastics. So I just wanted to talk about that experience, what that was like, and the places that I went to, the things that I did, because it's kind of crazy looking back on it. I mean, at that point in time, like, it was just normal. It's like, oh yeah, I'm like telling my teachers, okay, I'll be gone. I'm going to Argentina for 3 weeks, and they'll be like it was kind of just like what I did. But like That's not something that a typical like 14-year-old does. So my first international competition, was in France. I was probably 13 years old. That one was really cool because it was just my first like big international competition. And I was competing for my club at the time. I wasn't on the national team yet, and my dad got to go with me because it was my first ever big competition out of the country. So that was really special. He came with me. The competition was it was okay. I mean, it was my first big one, so I was nervous. It wasn't great, but it was a good experience, good time. And then so I made the national team when I was 14. That was in 2017. And my first international team competition for Canada was actually in Japan. So that was crazy. I've never been that far ever. And I went without my parents, which was also crazy because I've never traveled internationally or anything without my parents either. So 14 years old, just made the national team. First international assignment was in like Yokohama, Japan. And I didn't know what that was at the time, but it was a really cool experience. First time, you get all the gear, the Gymnastics Canada leotards and all the gear, the backpack, the shoes, everything to represent Canada, which was really special and a really good time. The competition went pretty well. Honestly, I just saw it as like an experience. I didn't put that much pressure on myself or anything because I was just excited to be there. I was happy to be there. Um, so that was cool. And then later that year, I went back to France. I went to the same competition. It was in Marseille. Um, that was when I was competing for Team Canada, though, and I was a junior still, junior in gymnastics. Um, we have levels. I didn't really explain this yet. So juniors, you're 13 to like 15 years old, and then senior is 16 plus, like the senior category. So I was still a junior, and Team Canada got third, I believe, at that competition. That was really exciting. And that was really cool. Going into 2018 this is probably the most craziest year. Well, maybe not. I don't know. It was a very busy year for me, and it was just a whirlwind. Basically, to qualify to the Youth Olympic Games, which is it's the Olympics but for younger um athletes, for juniors, and it's all sports together. It's a multi-sport event. It's a games, meaning you have an Olympic village, you have an opening ceremony, a closing ceremony. It's all televised, broadcasted. Like they literally treat it like the Olympics, but it's just junior athletes doing it. So basically, what they did, because it's not as big as the real Olympics, for gymnastics, you're only allowed one athlete per country. So per sport, per sport. So I wanted to be that one athlete going for Canada. And to do that, I needed to prove myself to the federation, and they need to select basically the top gymnast at the time in the age category. So to do that, I needed to compete internationally a lot that year. So they were sending me on so many assignments, trying to figure out the best athlete at the time, the most consistent, reliable, because they wanted to have the best one representing Canada. And so this competition was in October of 2018. And in January, I was competing. I had a couple competitions in Canada. I went to Montreal. I went to, I think Quebec was another one. And then I ended up going to Argentina for the first time. That was for the Junior Pan Am Championships. Team Canada got silver. So that was a really cool experience. That was my first time in Argentina. And then I had a competition in Colombia, which is also another one in South America. I went to South America a lot throughout my career, actually. Um, that was for the Pacific Rim Championships, which is basically all of the countries that are on the Pacific Ocean. Um, cool experience. Canada also got silver. Basically, the US is really good at gymnastics, and they won everything. All of these like Pan Am, Pacific Rim kind of competitions. So US was first, Canada was always second. So we were second there as well, but that's okay. The US is really good. I'll give them that. Really good gymnast. Um, so those were those competitions. Then I went to national championships, and I ended up qualifying for the Youth Olympics. I was the top gymnast in my age category in Canada, and I qualified to that, which was a really amazing experience. And it also ended up being in Argentina again. So I went back to Argentina a couple months later, Buenos Aires. It was beautiful. We had an athlete village. So I roomed with a rhythmic gymnast, a wrestler, a boxer, a fencer. There was just like a bunch of us because there was only like one athlete per sport. So the like in the village, our rooms were like mixed up with different athletes. So that was really cool. It was definitely a great experience because if you don't know, like in an Olympic village, you have all these activities and things that you can do to connect with athletes from different countries. And then there was the opening ceremonies, which is amazing, and the closing ceremonies. So being part of all that was great. And I ended up making history for Canada, becoming the first gymnast to win a medal at the Youth Olympic Games, which I did not expect at all. I mean, I was just there. I was like the hardest part for me was qualifying to get there. Once I got there, I was like, okay, like I made it, just do the best that I can. Like I didn't feel as much pressure as I did to actually qualify. So I was just there trying my best, doing the best that I could, and I ended up having a really good vault day, and I medaled on vault, made history for Canada. And because of that, I was selected to be the flag bearer for the closing ceremonies, which I didn't even know I was in the running for. That was crazy. If you don't know Bruni Surin, he is an Olympic gold medalist for Canada for track and field, and he was our chef de mission. So he was the one kind of like in charge of the delegation, the whole Canadian delegation. And he came up to me after the competition and asked if I like basically he's like we decided as a federation or as a delegation that you would be the best flag bearer for us, like just you represent the Olympic values, team spirit, like Canadian pride, like all of these things, and we want you to be the flag bearer. And I was so crazy because I don't know, I didn't see any of that coming. I really was just out there trying my best, and to come out with that and then walk in the closing ceremonies carrying the Canadian flag, wearing the whole outfit, the whole official gear. Just an amazing experience, and I will never forget that. So that was to wrap up my junior year of elite gymnastics. Um, amazing. I mean, yeah, it was amazing, and also my parents came with me. That was I think that's been the only international competition that both my parents have been to in my whole career, and that was probably the best one they could have been to. Um, it was really nice having them there, being able to experience all of those things with me, be there when I made history. Like that was just so special for me, and that was just a great experience. We actually got my dog after this. This is I just remembered this because I just got a Snapchat memory. My sisters stayed at home with my grandparents, and my youngest sister was like, "Dad, like if we're good with Oma," because my grandparents were watching them. They're like, if we're good with Oma and Papa, like, can we get a dog?" And my dad was like, I don't know. He just like said it. He didn't really like think. He was like, "Yeah, like sure." And then apparently, like, Oma and Papa were like, "Oh, they were really good when you guys were gone." And Libby's like, "Well, you said we would get a dog." And my dad was like, like he didn't really think that. I don't know. He didn't think she would remember, but it was more just like he said it. Didn't think like anything else would come out of it. I don't think. And um, we ended up getting a dog when I got back from that competition. It was awesome. His name's Charlie. He's a Maltese and a Shih Tzu mix. He's amazing, and I miss him, and I get to see him next week, and I'm very excited. But yeah, that's how we ended up getting Charlie. When I got back from that competition, my sisters did a really good job, being good for my grandparents when I was gone because that was like a 3 week competition. So I don't think my parents were gone for 3 weeks. I was in Argentina for 3 weeks. I think they were probably there for like a week and a half, maybe like 10 days. So yeah, that I just went off on a tangent, but yeah, that's how we got Charlie, and that was one of my favorite competitions ever. Once I became a senior, that was 2019. Um, I ended up competing in Montreal again. I went to Belgium. That was my first senior international competition. That was crazy because um, I was so yeah, a senior 16 plus. That means you're competing against Olympians. And I went to this Belgium competition, and Quinn, one of my friends, Quinn Scrupa, she goes to Central Michigan for gymnastics. We were both the babies on the team. We were first year seniors. And we're looking around and just pointing out at all the Olympians, and we're like, oh my God, like we watch these people on TV. Now we're competing against them. That was a crazy feeling. We were very just in awe of everybody there, and just like, I remember we had this conversation, we're just like, "We can't believe we're here, we're competing against Olympians." Like, to us, it felt like we made it, and we just embraced and took in that whole competition. It was a great experience, and we got to go tour in Belgium, which was really nice. That was my first time in Belgium. Internationally, I also went in 2019 to Hungary. That was really cool. I've never been to Hungary. We also went to Austria for a couple days at that time too. So that was yeah. Hungary, I mean, I don't really remember the competition. I think I yeah. Oh, I medaled on beam. That's what I know I medaled somewhere. I medaled on beam. Beam's not usually my best event, so that was cool. And yeah, after that, 2019, I was actually an alternate for the World Championships. It was kind of like not unexpected, but they kind of put me in alternate because I was like a rookie on the team. Um, and that was kind of, I don't know. It sucks being an alternate. I kind of went into that in another show, but it was very like motivating at the same time. I mean, it was my first year senior, so I didn't like expect anything like I didn't expect to like fully make the team, like be the star on the team or anything. So being an alternate was like a good spot for me to be in at the time, but it was still a little bit challenging, but it was definitely motivating, making me want to be on the next team. And I mean, it was the year going into the Olympics, so definitely motivated me going into the Olympic year. Unfortunately, COVID happened and it wasn't an Olympic year anymore, but that was basically my motivation going into that Olympic year. Um, in 2020, I actually went to Australia. This was probably one of the coolest competitions I've been to. We went to like this petting zoo and we saw koalas and kangaroos and like all of those kind of animals. That was a really fun experience. That was in like February. So I got back for like, I don't know, a week. And then I went to Montreal for a competition, or a camp. And then like the week later. And when we landed back in Toronto, because I always fly out of Toronto when I'm going home, we all turned on our phones like when we landed and saw that like everything was canceled or like this coronavirus was happening. And like that was like the beginning of it. It was just like a week or two of no school, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is amazing." Turned out to be a lot longer, but I went to Australia and it was a really good competition. And I don't know. It was kind of sad because this is like that was like the year to qualify for the Olympics, and my preparation for the Olympics was going pretty well, like going from like world's alternate, youth Olympic medalist, competing in Australia, competing in Montreal, and like all of these things. All of a sudden, everything being shut down, and we didn't know for how long. At the time, like they were like just a couple weeks, and then oh, it's a month, and then 2 months, and then Canada actually pulled out of the Olympics before the Olympics were canceled. This was crazy because I don't know if anyone was really following the Olympics at the time. Like if you weren't planning on going, you probably weren't like that focused on it. But um basically countries started pulling out of the Olympics saying like if this is happening, we aren't going anymore. And the Canadian delegation was one of the first countries to pull out of the Olympics. So all of these athletes and like my team, Gymnastics Canada, all of us were just so upset because we didn't like at the time the Olympics were still going to happen and Canada was just not going to be there. And eventually many other countries started pulling out and COVID kept getting worse. So the whole Olympics were like canceled, postponed. But at the time that was crazy because that's like all I was training for so long just to have it all canceled. Um the COVID situation was crazy. I mean, trying to train at home, stay active, stay healthy, not knowing well, for a while, we also didn't know if the Olympics were even going to happen before they announced that they were pulling out and postponed. So, training at home, potentially training for the Olympics, finding out that the Olympics were canceled, pushed back, and then training with no people because when we were allowed to return to training a couple months later, there was this rule in Canada that you were only allowed to train if you were in contention for the Olympics. So there was like 2 or 3 of us training every day in this environment that it was very quiet and it was very hard to train with only 3 people knowing you're like training for the Olympics. Um, so that was a whole other situation. Um, I ended up basically what Canada did for their qualifiers and Olympic trials. It was all virtual, so you would send videos, and that's how you were selected for the team, which is interesting. I mean, it basically like you proved that you could compete in your home club, but you didn't really show like that didn't really show that like just because you can compete well in your home gym doesn't mean you can compete well at the Olympics. So the selection was a little bit odd, but I mean that's kind of the best that they thought they could do at the time because we still weren't able to compete together. And I was an Olympic alternate for that. We ended up getting together for the camps leading up to the Olympics because like the rules were kind of less strict, especially if you're part of the Olympic team and technically the alternates are named to the Olympic team. So trained in Montreal, trained all the way up until the team left. Well, and then once the team left, so I was like the first alternate on call. So they were in Tokyo training, and I had to send in videos like showing that I was ready to compete, just in case someone got hurt and they had to fly me over last minute for the Olympics, which was just a crazy, crazy time, mentally very challenging. Because like obviously you don't want anyone to get hurt, but at the same time, it's like you do want that opportunity. So that was just a weird spot to be in. Um, just taking it one day, one thing at a time, because didn't want to get too far ahead of myself, potentially get hurt, anything like that. Crazy time. Um, Later on, went NCAA. I kind of talked about this in my other shows. Decided to go back to elite gymnastics, and that was in 2022. I went to my first international competition returning after NCAA was the Commonwealth Games in England. That was a really awesome experience because it was the games. We also had an athlete village. We also had an opening and closing ceremonies. Um, all of the countries were together, spending time hanging out together. Um, I was part of Team Canada for that, and that was probably one of the best competitions in my life. Like as an individual competing in the elite world, I got my personal high score in the all around. I medaled individually in the all around, and I medaled on beam. And Team Canada also got a medal. We also were bronze. I had 3 bronze medals. Usually, for some reason, I get bronze. It's just I don't know why, but never silver or gold. It's always bronze, but that's okay. It's fine. It was still a really cool experience. We got to walk out in the opening ceremonies, and being in that arena was insane. It was all televised. It was a huge, huge thing at the time. It was a really good experience overall, and I was really happy with my performance because for the longest time I wasn't even sure if I was going to be doing elite, and then I decided to, and then I qualified at Commonwealth Games, and then I had like the best competition of my life. So I was really proud of myself for that. Um, that was my first time in England. Second time in England was later on that year, 2022 World Championships. There was a whole I think I went into this with Brian. I didn't qualify originally because I had mono and strep during the trials, and then so I was an alternate, and then someone got hurt, and then I was put in, and then we ended up making history for Canada as a team, becoming the first Canadian team to win a medal at the World Championships for Canada, which actually qualified us 2 years in advance to Paris, the Olympics, which was also a crazy experience, crazy to be part of. That was a really fun time as well. It was not the same city that the Commonwealth Games were in, but it was still in England and it was still pretty close. So I'd say England is probably the luckiest country for me to compete in, just based on how I've competed there and like the results that I've gotten. So that was yeah, Worlds. I mean, I talked about it, I think, on my other show with Brian, but there was a lot of adversity that that team went through. 2 alternates were put in because um, things happened. They need to switch it out, and we were seen as like the B team, and no one really had any expectations for us. But because we didn't have those expectations on ourselves, I think that's why we ended up doing as good as we did. Every country in that team final fell except for Canada, and I think it's just because we were just happy to be there. You know, we're like, okay, no one's really expecting much out of us, so let's just stick together, enjoy what we're doing, and just do the best that we can. And by doing that, we literally made history for the country, and that was just, like, the craziest time. Um, I just got the memories, like, a couple weeks ago from that. It was at the beginning of November in 2020, and, like, the girls everyone was crying, everyone was screaming, it was all over the news, it was all over social media, like, we kept getting interviewed by different news stations. It was a huge deal because, well, 1, Canada's never gotten a medal, but then we also qualified 2 years in advance for the Olympics, which meant that in 2023, Team Canada did not have to worry about trying to qualify a team or anything. So crazy experience. That's my time in England. That is a wrap on that segment. You're listening to Beyond the Routine with Spence. We'll be right back after this break.
Attention students and anyone else looking for a great deal. Sun Valley Lanes and Games has the ultimate weeknight special. For just $15.95, enjoy unlimited bowling, lucky putt mini golf, and laser tag. Flash your college ID at check-in to receive $2 off your admission. It's the perfect way to unwind Sunday through Thursday nights. Check out sunvalleylanes.com for hours and availability. Sun Valley Lanes and Games, located at 321 Victory Lane.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete. Sun Valley.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock with A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. If you're looking for an automotive repair facility you can genuinely trust, we would be grateful for the opportunity to earn your business repairing your vehicle. We have ASE master technicians and qualified to work on a variety of vehicles from Hondas to Porsches, Jaguars to Toyotas, and Chevrolets to Fords. We pride ourselves on customer service and relationships, and we would be grateful for the opportunity to serve you. Give us a call at 402-477-4660. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
The Link Grill, Draft, and Crafts is your spot in Southeast Lincoln for great food and drink. They're serving new menu items and a killer craft cocktail menu with your favorite draft beers. You'll love their pizza and new entree options. It's a great place to watch any live events, and they have music bingo every month. They have an aggressive loyalty program that rewards fans with 7% back on all purchases. Home of the Nebraska Power Hour every night from 8 to 9 p.m. Order online at the lnkgrill.com or stop in at 84th and Highway 2 today.
Back to Beyond the Routine with Spence on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Emma Spence.
Welcome back to Beyond the Routine with Spence. I'm your host, Emma Spence. I was just talking about competitions and stuff I was doing throughout my career. So I'll continue. I'll finish that up. Might as well. So all of these things, all of these countries and things that I've been to, so leading up to the Tokyo Olympics, all of that was during high school, which kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like, my high school life was just different because I was literally like just going to different countries throughout all of it. And then like my friends would hear about it and they just be like, wait, what? Like, you're just going to like Japan for 2 weeks? And like, yeah. And they just, I don't know. It was hard for people to understand, like, if you weren't going through it yourself. So, that was that. So after World Championships, let's see. Then I was kind of injured for a little bit, like on and off. And I was also focusing on the NCAA season because, I mean, I came here to do NCAA and I love doing NCAA, and I wouldn't have returned to elite gymnastics or been successful as I was if it weren't for NCAA. So I really wanted to take the time to focus on that during the NCAA season. In 2023, I was injured after the season a little bit, so I didn't really compete internationally until last November. I went to Belgium. I just literally had Snapchat memories from that like a couple days ago. And that was my first international competition in about a year since that World Championships in 2022. That was a good experience. I won floor, and I think I got second all around. So that was a good kind of confidence booster. Once again, going into 2024 Olympic cycle, trying to get selected for the Olympic team again this year. Into 2024, after the NCAA season was done, I went to Italy for a competition. That competition went really well. I mean, I had one of the better scores that I've had in a couple of years internationally. And I was really happy with it, especially like it was just like a week or two right after NCAA season was done. And I was the only one on Team Canada that was doing NCAA at the same time. So I was really proud of that and how I did. We ended up going to Paris right after that for about a week for a training camp, get used to the environment. We saw the venue where the Olympics were being held for gymnastics. We saw the Eiffel Tower and all the little touristy things just to kind of get excited and motivated for Paris. A couple weeks after that, I went to Colombia again this was the Pan American Championships, Senior Pan American Championships. That was a crazy experience. I don't have time to go through that right now, but oh my goodness, I got really sick and food poisoning and almost didn't compete, and then I did compete, and then the like arena was open, so there were animals like walking around and flying in, and I had to dodge a bird on my vault run, which I've never thought I'd ever have to do that. Like saluted to the judge, about to vault, and as I'm running, a bird just like flies across from me. That could have been really dangerous and really bad, but I kind of just like ducked and kept going, and the vault was fine. So that was good. And it was also very, very hot. They didn't have any air conditioning, and it was like I don't even know Fahrenheit. It was like 37 Celsius. I don't know. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit, but it was hot and crazy experience. Was really sick though. And then I had Olympic trials, and unfortunately it didn't go the way that I wanted to. And I was an alternate again for the Olympics this year. That experience was it was a lot. I mean, I've been through it before. Unfortunately and fortunately, because at least I knew what I was getting myself into, and was like I knew what to expect going through it, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't going to be amazing, you know? Like it's hard being that close to achieving your dream, especially for the second time, almost making it again but not. But at least I knew what I was going through. I knew how to handle it, and I had good resources and like a good support system heading into it. So overall that was a good experience, and then I just decided to retire from NCAA. No, not from NCAA, from elite gymnastics. Probably about a month or two ago now. It's pretty recent. I announced my retirement, and I feel good about that decision. You know, I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've had through elite gymnastics, all of the countries that I've been to, and the experiences that I've gone through by doing that. I've seen so many things that people my age haven't experienced yet. Um, Gone through, yeah, just so many things. I mean, two-time Olympic alternate, which I'm still trying to be like, yeah, like that's cool because I mean it's hard, but I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of the things that I've gone through and overcome by doing that. And I'm really looking forward to this last year of NCAA gymnastics. This is the last year I will ever be doing gymnastics. I will retire in May when I graduate, and I just want to take advantage of every opportunity that's presented in front of me, embrace everything, spend a lot of time with my teammates, even just like the little things, you know, preparing for a meet in the locker room, blasting music, doing each other's hair, doing each other's makeup, all of that. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm excited to see what this NCAA season brings. So that is a wrap of tonight's show. Once again, a solo show by me. I'm your host, Emma Spence, and you are listening to Beyond the Routine.